Good evening, viewers. Sunday is back, and I'm Nadeem Kadir, back with another episode of Afterthoughts. Today, my guest is someone who is fighting against tobacco, and she is Dr. Kelly Hennings of the Bloomberg Philanthropies based in the United States. Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Well, Doctor, I'm very scared to talk about anti-tobacco campaigns because I'm a smoker myself. But I really would like to know how I can quit it. So, first of all, can you give us a background about what this Bloomberg Philanthropies is all about?
Certainly. So Bloomberg Philanthropies is a foundation that's in New York City. It was founded by Michael Bloomberg, who's the mayor of New York City, and is also the founder of Bloomberg LP, which is a news organization and a business organization.
Right. And you have this program, this Bloomberg Global Initiative to Reduce Tobacco Use, and also Bloomberg Global Road Safety Program.
That's right. So we have public health as a major focus of Bloomberg Philanthropies, and all of our public health programs are outside of the United States.
Okay.
We work in low and middle income countries, and we work in two big topic areas, like you mentioned, tobacco control and road safety.
All right. So you're more involved with the tobacco because you're a physician yourself.
I actually oversee both projects,
right.
but I am a physician, that's right.
Right. So, Doctor, tell us about your global program on the tobacco issue itself.
So the tobacco program started in the early part of 2007, and over the last 5.5 years or so, we've been working in, especially focusing on 15 countries around the world that represent 2/3 of the world's smokers. So these are countries with very large numbers of smokers and tobacco users, and Bangladesh is actually one of the countries where we're working.
And so Bangladesh is among one of the countries where the smoking rate is very high.
That's right. So Bangladesh is in the top 5, actually.
Top 5. Okay.
Yes. Just after China, India, Russia, and Indonesia. So Bangladesh is 5th among those countries with high.
Is it because we have a high population rate, or is there any other reason?
Well, it's true. Bangladesh has a large population, so when we look at the number of smokers, we're expecting to see more smokers here. But by the same token, you have very high rates of tobacco use here, 43% of adults using tobacco in Bangladesh. So that's a very large number.
Right, but is it only cigarettes? It's because it's not only cigarettes. It's also we call it in Bangladesh biri, the leaf, tobacco leaf that is made as a cigarette. Look, there's also something that people chew tobacco, and that causes cancer, as we know. So, are you fighting against all kinds of use? And if so, in a country where education rate is not as high as United States or any other Western countries, how are you doing this?
So you're absolutely right. All 3 forms of tobacco, regular cigarettes, the rolled bidi cigarettes, and as well as chewing tobacco are all very big problems here. Especially chewing tobacco among women is more common. And the cheap bidi rolled cigarettes are also very common among smokers here in Bangladesh. And literacy rates are important because the awareness of the dangers of these products is quite low. So we try to do 2 different things. One is to raise awareness through media and anti-tobacco advertising, but also to set a policy environment so that it's harder and unpopular to smoke and to use tobacco. Things like smoke-free public places and banning advertising, especially effective for youth, so that youth are less likely to pick up the habit.
Right. But what about those in the countryside? Because there's hardly any awareness program there. In the cities, you have the newspapers, the television, all that. In the countryside, farmers are working and they're chewing tobacco in the field, or they're smoking. They come back too tired to watch TV or anything. They just go off to sleep. They don't even know they had it. I'm talking about Bangladesh because you're working with Bangladesh also. So how do you deal with an area like that where people actually are not bothered what's happening around there except for their own livelihoods?
It's absolutely true that rural areas are a little bit harder to reach. Although there is radio, there is television out there in those areas of the country, but certainly the urban centers are often where tobacco control picks up speed and picks up steam, and then we start to see dispersion of that important information trickling down to rural areas. There are some programs in Bangladesh to increase awareness among youth in schools and so forth. So there are a lot of different types of tactics that are used, but it's really true that awareness raising is important, no question.
So can you give us an idea, the viewers the idea, that what are you actually doing about awareness in the areas like Bangladesh and also in Bangladesh to raise awareness specifically among the lower income bracket where the education level is very low and they really don't understand what is cancer and what is other diseases and what they just know that cigarette is one thing they need to survive and they part of the habit and they can't give up, they don't give up, they just go on. Because I've written a lot of stories about tobacco use and its after effects and all that. And also, although I'm ashamed that I couldn't give up tobacco smoking myself, but when I write stories about it, I do find that these are the areas where absolutely the campaign that you're taking, because there are other organizations which have similar campaigns, but are they having an effect? But as far as I'm concerned, what I see from my study, that these campaigns hardly have any major effect, maybe minor, because what we see now that the younger generation, many of them, it was smoking was style when we were growing up, but now not smoking is also becoming a style that you're fresh and all that. But in the areas which are I was mentioning, how are you dealing with those? I mean, you have volunteers to the ground level, and what kind of campaigns you're doing?
So it's absolutely true that there are changes in popularity of smoking, especially among teenagers and youth, and we do see some declines in smoking rates among youth in a number of countries around the world, including low and middle income countries. It's also true that almost every family that has tobacco users is touched by the effects of tobacco. Chewing tobacco causing mouth and oral cancers, very severe problems inside the mouth at young ages among chewing tobacco users who start when they're very young. And smoking can cause not only lung cancer and heart disease, but other chronic diseases. And secondhand smoke in the household, where a smoker smokes and others in the household are exposed, can also cause disease, disability, and death, particularly among children in households who get pneumonia, ear infections, and other things. So actually, many people are affected by tobacco use. And as people start to realize the connection between tobacco and these serious health problems and diseases, they actually want to quit and stop using tobacco products. So there is a slow but real movement in that direction.
Okay, so it's like you're targeting the new generation.
Mm-hmm.
But what I was trying to understand that how you're doing this campaign in the rural areas, in the villages.
So all of our work in tobacco control is very much in line with the Global Treaty Against Tobacco, which the World Health Organization put in place in the early 2000s, and which Bangladesh is part of. And that treaty says that the most important steps forward for tobacco control are very much policy issues, things like creation of smoke-free public places, banning advertising, raising the price of tobacco products, educating the public. And that education includes things like warnings on tobacco products, graphic warnings that show the dangers of tobacco products. And when you stop advertising at the point of sale of products, around schools, where youth are present, you again change the environment and get larger buy-in to this idea that tobacco is a very dangerous product.
All right. When you say policies, now worldwide, I've seen that there's a warning on cigarette packets. Some countries, they use horrific pictures of aftermath of using tobacco and all that. But does it really have any effect on the people who are hooked to smoking?
Yeah, there's research that shows that those pack warnings do impact smokers and do make them stop and think and consider quitting. There's quite good research evidence globally from countries around the world. There's also evidence that those warnings on packages and tobacco products also get to youth who are not that happy about picking up those products with those very serious warnings and those very serious images. So the impact is there, and those are a major recommendation of the World Health Organization's treaty, the presence of those warnings.
Right. So we will be going for a break, and we'll come back. Your viewers will go for a very short break. Do stay with us, and we'll hear about the anti-tobacco campaign that Dr. Kelly's organization, Bloomberg Philanthropies, is taking here in Bangladesh and elsewhere in the world.